Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Cactus Atlas. My name's Glenn, and today Amy and I are going to be taking you on an adventure up into the Bradshaw Mountains near Phoenix, Arizona. I can still hear the highway noise from Interstate 17 behind me, and we decided to pull over here early on in our adventure so I can kind of explain what the grand plan is for this trip. It's one that I'm very excited about, and one that's been a long time coming on this channel here, the Cactus Atlas. There's reasons why we have not ventured back here, as you will learn. But our destination is somewhere way up there to a historic, I would say, living ghost town of Crown King, Arizona. Along the way, we're going to be stopping at many different historic towns in the back roads, the back country here of Arizona, and just seeing how the other folks live. Alrighty, so off to the right over there is Interstate 17, and we took the exit for Bumble Bee, Crown King. And I always find it to be kind of cute and funny, Amy's original thought, like way back when, about right there, Bumblebee Crown King, although the way it's portrayed on the signs out there is like one thing, Bumblebee Crown King. Yep. How about you tell us your story and what you thought it meant, Amy?
Yeah, so I didn't realize that there were two towns, the town of Bumblebee and the town of Crown King. So when I saw it, I was thinking Bumblebee Crown King. It made me think of like a children's book character of like a crowned king that was a bumblebee, like a little adorable character that you might see at like a theme park or something like that. And I just thought it was the most adorable thing that I could possibly imagine. But lo and behold, no, it's two different towns, Bumblebee and Crown King.
And much, much more. All right, as we make our way to Bumblebee, our first stop on this journey, Amy and I will kind of catch you up on our adventure from yesterday, where we drove up to Prescott with the intent of filming this episode, and we took to something called the Senator Highway, an old, I would say, dirt road, rocky road, that was created from all the mining industries that are back here in the Bradshaw Mountains back in the Old West into the 1900s. And it was a really long drive. We were not prepared for, I would say, the speed it took and the bumpiness, and yeah, it was pretty nuts. So why don't we show you guys a few clips from yesterday? And one of the highlights for me was a historic cabin known as the Palace Station that we'll show you here on these clips. But Senator Highway, very worth doing. But if you want to just go see Crown King and some of these other towns, I'm thinking this might be the way to go. Do it if you want a little bit easier of a time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll see you up the road here in Bumblebee shortly. And all I hear are the wind and a lot of birds this morning, and a little bit chilly up here at this higher elevation. I'm wearing shorts, but very beautiful early morning. We'll keep an eye out for critters and neat birds, and other than that, I think it's time to get up the Senator Highway. We've got a long way to go, I think, like 37 miles or something like that total. I'd say that's probably the worst spot we could encounter. Others was right there. Looks like there's a mountain biking route, maybe even a dirt bike route, horse route, and foot route that goes down this ways if you want to hike here in the beautiful forest. I assume we're still in the Prescott National Forest at this point. All right, we are welcomed here by the sign for the town of Bumble Bee, which is, I would say, definitely 100% was on the maps back in the 1800s. This sign says it was established in 1864. Current population 11 people, 32 horses, and 158 cattle. Exactly that much. If you could come back here in the 1800s, this was a stage stop, basically, in between settlements like Phoenix, which was a tiny little settlement back then, and not what it is today. But if you think about it, everything was done by horse and wagon and buggy, things like that. So they had to have these stops to fresh up the horses, maybe to swap out horses with fresh ones. And that's what Bumble Bee was. Originally, it was just an adobe house back, I think, in the 1870s or something like that, maybe the 1860s, where someone tended to those needs. Alrighty, let's see if we can take a peek into Bumble Bee from the car. I'm not sure if we can. I don't know the status of that, if it's private. It looks like a big RV park, and there's like a picnic area in there. Maybe it's some religious cult. The Rajneeshis have come back. For those of you that know what that is. All right, here's the gate. It almost looks like a ranch or something. I'm also curious too, because Bumble Bee, I guess, did have a quick moment of fame. Looks like we can go in there. I don't see any no trespassing signs, so it's like a ranch or something. Bumble Bee Ranch. But basically, back in 1969, I think, some guy, Mr. Kylene, I think it was. I don't know if it's the same guy that has the Kylenes on 17, or is it Chilenes? We don't know. But some guy tried to build like an amusement park type thing here, like an old West Town theme park thing. And on opening day, apparently they had about 4,000 visitors. And then from there, it just tanked. And for the longest time, you could come out here and see old West wood looking buildings that look like a real ghost town, but it really wasn't. But I heard they removed the old buildings. People out here are very particular about their no trespassing signs, trust me. And this place seems welcoming to me. There was nothing saying private or anything like that. So there's an office. I didn't even know that. Like in gift shop, as Amy pointed out. It's closed because we're here early. But there you go. You can kind of get your look here at Bumble Bee, Arizona. And there's like...
Oh, there's a little jail there.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Ranch and jail.
This is kind of neat. Those are like horse statues, right? They look kind of real.
It's a statue.
No horses beyond that point. I mean, I wasn't planning on exploring all of this, but I see like old wooden buildings back there too. Maybe those are the remnants of the old ghost town that they had here. So pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Amy asked an interesting question about the origins of the name Bumble Bee as a town, and I honestly don't remember for sure. I was reading about it last night. One thing I heard was there were nearby Indians here that were overheard, and they were described like the buzzing of bees was one of the things I heard. And then there were other things I think that had something to do with bees. But I tell you what, if you're interested, Amy can put a link in the description down below to some excellent source material from azoffroad.net, which I want to give a lot of credit to that website for this episode, because I do get a lot of my facts from that site. But it's a really well done, excellent site that takes a really deep historical look at some of these things. All right, so the next stop on our tour, which is going to be a little ways up the road before we get too high up in elevation, is a really tiny town called Cleator. Cleator. Cleator, not Cletus. Cleator. Cletus's brother. But there's an old general store building there, I hear. Once again, it's got its roots pretty far back in Arizona history, and today it's still there. It's a watering hole for humans now. Probably was involved with some of the train and the mining industry back in the day. So we're gonna drive and enjoy this drive through the beautiful early morning light in the Sonoran Desert, and we'll catch you up the road near Cleator. All right, here are our beautiful backcountry roads in Arizona, the road to Cleator. So Cleator is gonna be somewhere off that ways, but I do know eventually we are ascending back into this wilderness in these mountains at a very heavy grade, up old railroad grading basically, for something called the Impossible Railroad. Something from the turn of the century And really nothing there anymore other than evidence of where the tracks used to be, because we're gonna drive up it. But for now, let's just enjoy some of these early morning views here of the Bradshaw Mountains. Found some beautiful wildflowers here too, all these purple ones. Are these lupines? Are they petunias, Amy? It's an inside joke from somebody else, but I thought it appropriate. Wow, look at all this purple here. You could probably get a nice shot with the mountains in the background and the purple flowers in the foreground. This is why we never get anywhere on time. But how can you not stop and enjoy the flowers and smell the flowers, even though they don't smell, I don't think. All right, Amy, I declared I need to go get like a plant identification guide before the next episode, because I'm really tired of always saying, what kind of flowers are these? Are these petunias?
I just know that those purple flowers kind of remind me of bluebonnets, so I'm just guessing they're lupines.
Are bluebonnets like tall and skinny like that?
Yeah, they're kind of tall and skinny, kind of a bluish purple, little white top on them.
So it's kind of a Texas thing, bluebonnets?
Yes, very much so.
Oh, thank goodness. This is Cleator, and seeing it here, we were just reading about Cleator a little bit and some of the history here. And a lot of these buildings, I think, are originals from the era. The era being maybe, I mean, this thing has its roots back in the 1860s, I think 1864, but certainly the early 1900s seem to be where there was a lot of activity here, and where this place got its name in 1920 something. It went from being called Turkey Creek to Cleator, named after the gentleman that bought the town. And yesterday when we were here, it was wall to wall, side by sides. No lie, 100% the truth, at this bar, which still operates today. And look at that boat back there. There's lots of cool things to go explore. We might be here longer than I was anticipating. When you got a yacht club here in the desert, I mean, come on. All right, this is Cleator in 2023. Town's well over 100 years old and still services thirsty patrons at this bar today. Well, let's take a look here at these interesting things. There's a Bumble Bee Crown King sign that does say, hippies use the back door because you are entering a redneck area. You may encounter American flags, armed citizens, the Lord's Prayer, and country music. Here's a population sign. So welcome to Cleator, Arizona, population 8, 5 dogs and 2 grumpy cats. So it's not all about just Budweiser and Skoal. There's more to Cleator. Here you got your history. It was established as a placer gold mining site in the Turkey Creek Mining District in 1864. Post office opened in 1869, and then eventually this guy named Cleator renamed it to Cleator in 1925. And I think that guy Cleator ran the bar. And here's an old post office. I don't know information to know when this was built, if this was built in the 1800s. Certainly looks the part. And as the internet's said, a lot of these structures here, these houses are original from the era. So I'm gonna guess probably early 1900s. But as far as I know, maybe these are old 1800s structures and people still live in them today. Really cool community, actually. I think I saw like a rock hound shop yesterday, a sign indicating they sell rocks, probably collected from the Bradshaw Mountain regions. And here's some evidence of some old activity here in the old mining district. You got old ore carts they put on display here in Cleator Lane. Here's a side of the bar, and I think to the left is some private property, some old original homes. So I like to call these places living ghost towns, because it does appear that people live in some of these residences, or maybe they use them for barbecues and such. But this behind me is pretty cool. Check this out. They have a pirate ship here run aground This is amazing. Danger, keep off the ship, matey. Keep off that ship. The name of the ship is the Black Scorpion. I do find Cleator to be kind of a unique concept because we do a lot of off-road driving on the channel, and you don't oftentimes find like fully functioning, insanely popular bars out in the middle of nowhere like this. So that's a really cool thing, and we're going to be seeing more of that actually. So that makes this area very special. And I would also say that even though it seems to be a mecca for off-roaders, the irony is, to be honest with you, like a lot of these people rent side-by-sides and stuff and think they're badasses, but this is the road they're taking. So you could probably get your PT Cruiser up here. All right, that was Cleator. Cleator. Very quaint town, actually. I'm glad we got to stop and get out on foot, because yesterday we just blew through it and didn't stop.
Yeah, it was like...
It was a traffic jam. It was crazy.
It must have been like 15 side-by-sides just stationed one right after another.
If that. There might have been more.
Yeah.
It was nuts, and Jeeps and trucks. But if you're kind of a armchair historian type like me and you just like the old buildings and stuff, I would highly recommend the morning would be your time to go see these sites before the crowds start to arrive. 8:30 already, Amy, 8:30.
Wow.
And now I think we're gonna start the ascent into the Bradshaws, where with every corner we turn, you're gonna see something new and different. So for those of you that have vacationed in Arizona, or perhaps live in Arizona and you take I-17 between Phoenix and Flagstaff, or Phoenix and Sedona, you would know very well a rest area called Sunset Point, and there's beautiful large mountains in the background. Well, those should be the Bradshaw Mountains. And if you've wondered what's back there, well, this is what we're doing. We pretty much have driven along the face of the Bradshaws going north, and now we're cutting into them, kind of around and behind them. And then what we're going to be doing is going up this really steep road which follows the bed of an old railroad that went up this mountain at this really steep grade, which was quite the feat of its time. These areas that cut through here, I assume, were part of the railroad. And back in the day, if you see some old photos of the railroad, they had tunnels they had to cut through here. They had train trestles. Train trestles that I heard that after the railroad kind of fizzled out, people probably in old-timey cars, I would imagine, would use the train trestle to drive across this thing back and forth before they decided to remove it and make the road a little bit more passable. So yeah, like, take a look at that big mountain right in front of us. See if you can spot the grading on the GoPro. If I can get a place to pull over so we can survey it from the ground up, I will. But that's what we're going to be driving up, and that's what this railroad way back then achieved. It was very costly and very expensive to build, and once the mining in this area started to fizzle out and just was becoming too costly to operate, that's when everything kind of fell apart. Yeah, I want to say the railroad was referred to as Murphy's Impossible Railroad, just because of the rugged terrain they had to cut through to get up here, and the elevation changes. It's really a engineering marvel to me when you really think about the context of the time. I mean, you would have seen, if you were here, like probably like the steam stack and the you'd hear the horn, the whistle blowing, and just so much admiration for the people that did this. But it's interesting because we were reading that back in the day when they were blasting and building this, a lot of the workers realized that there's gold in this land not too far underneath the surface. So a lot of the old timers back then stopped working for the railroad, where they were making like $2 a day, and ended up trying to become prospectors. So that really put a damper on progress on the railroad. You can't blame them. Gold was selling for $30 a ton back in those days, I assume in that day's money. And before the railroad, I read that it was really a seasonal industry up here because they have harsh winters and lots of snow at these higher elevations, believe it or not. We're just right outside of Phoenix, Arizona, one of the hottest places on the planet. And then you have like really harsh conditions up here in the mountains. It's fantastic. Another one of our sharp turns here as we head up the mountain, the old railroad. The old railroad. It's a beautiful spring day too. The wind is gentle. You hear the birds chirping. A lot of songbirds out here. And we share the bird's eye view with those birds. All right, so that is the road up here. I wonder, like, if sections like this, if you look at old photos, there were tunnels that they had to bore through. So I don't know if any of these like cut through areas were tunnels at one point. I don't know where the old train trestles were, but I saw some pictures. They were pretty extensive. So would have been really quite the sight to see. Now that you drove the road, you understand just how steep it is.
How impossible it was.
Oh yeah. And that's a really well-named thing, Murphy's Impossible Railroad. I had to stop again and just get a shot of this face of these mountains here. I think I see an observatory at the top, a white dome. I don't think it's a radome. It looks like an observatory. And you can see the train that we cut through and climbed here in very short order. And let me give you a reveal looking on this side. We have an eagle's eye view of this. I mean, you tell me. Another version of heaven, perhaps, here in Arizona. It's just one of those landscapes that looks huge. It's just, the sizes are mind-boggling here and how far you can see in any direction. I mean, it's fantastic, and especially this way, looking out towards I-17. And basically the area we came from, I could see a dirt road way out there. I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of our route today. All right, to Crown King we go to try to beat the crowds. It's 15 minutes before they open the saloon here. And I hear it's not that busy of a time there, so I want to get there before the throngs make their presence known. So far, it seems like people are going the opposite direction and not up. I think it's probably all the campers and the weekend warriors that spent the night up here on their way out. And there's some exquisite camping opportunities back here that we spied. I think we only scratched the surface of that, and that's gonna be a different day, different adventure, I think. I can say with confidence though, if you like the Moki Dugway, if you know what I'm talking about, which you'll see on some of our videos at varying times, I think you'd like this drive for kind of the same reasons. If you like a lot of switchbacks and like crazy winding roads, this will scratch that itch. Look at the immense granite cliffs up here.
Yeah.
And the washboards.
It's just a gentle jiggle.
It is.
Compared to yesterday.
I feel there's a town hidden back here somewhere, Amy. I'm starting to see Ponderosa pine. See them?
Oh yeah.
Our first pine, and up on the hill too. Yeah, I think there's about 100 people that live back here today. There's 3 restaurants, I think. A cafe, a saloon, the historic saloon, and a place called The Mill that look pretty good. A general store, camping opportunities back here. All of which we're going to explore. So we're going to seek out some history, but I also want to see the modern town because it's interesting to know how this ended up here. You know, this town was to service a mine that I'll tell you about, but none of this would probably exist if it wasn't for the history. Alrighty, we made it to Crown King, and this is the crown jewel that I wanted to come to see, but there's lots to explore. This is a historic saloon and brothel, technically, and I've heard it's the oldest operating saloon in Arizona, over 100 years old. This isn't its original location either, by the way. It was moved here and dismantled from a nearby mining town called Orabel, somewhere in this vicinity. And it's probably very much, it's been freshly painted and upkept, but yeah, this was here for the miners back in the day. And you probably would have seen ladies up there enticing miners to come in to get a drink and maybe more here at this old saloon. I've studied the menus of these establishments, and for the most part, if you like burgers and fries, you're in good shape. I think they have other American style things, maybe hot dogs. Nothing that extensive, but what else do you need other than a cold beer and a cheeseburger if you're out off-roading? You don't. I'm here to tell you that, you don't. Now, I couldn't tell you if this is a historic general store or not, and kind of like renovated and rebuilt. But regardless, it's open, and I might be able to use the little boys' room really quick too. They actually have gas here? Mm-hmm. Look at that. They have an old school gas pump here. How much do they want for this? Looks like this place opens at 8 a.m. I wasn't expecting t-shirts here. This is the inside of the general store. I like this one, Amy.
What?
In my defense, I was left unsupervised in Crown King. I could see that based on what we saw yesterday. There's some partying happening out here. This is pretty cool. They got like even some books here, some history. See, this is something I should look at. This is like got a lot of history in it here. I think that's the actual post office still to this day. And you can see if you're a business person, this might be the place to open up. Looks like they might be building another bar or restaurant up here. It's turned into quite the destination. Dude, I love this town. I met a guy, his name is Woody. He has a card. His card basically says certified old timer prospecting panning classes. So a real bearded prospector, a real prospector. So he owns some land here and he teaches people, sounds like placer type mining and mining some of the creeks around here. So he invited me to give him a call. What he doesn't know is I probably will take him up on that. All right, Amy and I had to kill some time because the establishment, the saloon, doesn't open till 11. Looks like it's open now, I'm gonna guess. They opened before 11. We lost our parking spot, so I had to park on the other side of the bridge when you come in here. And this whole parking lot is designated as the Crown King Saloon, CK Saloon. 15 minutes later. Not even joking. I was parked right over here and already filling up. It's 10:53 a.m. This place is covered in old photos. There's like a museum here. You can really see back in the past. Ourselves a couple Pepsis. But imagine this place, Amy, like, 120 years ago, maybe? Like, more than that. The general store, by the way, is 120 years old. We asked about that. But imagine the kind of people you would have seen in here, and the prostitutes. It was a brothel and a saloon. And we got a cheers because we're here in the... So let's see what we're working with here. Got like, kind of fast food fries here. They're French fries. They're good. This burger looks pretty good. You can see the got cheddar cheese on that. That's a good burger. So I would say this is a worthy Sunday drive to get a burger. Yeah, I think it's worth the adventure and the Sunday drive. Even we did get here a little early. It's 11:17 a.m. now, and this is a treat. One interesting thing I was thinking of is there's this place in Utah near Hanksville called Stan's Burger Shack, which I filmed out and eaten at. It's in the middle of nowhere, basically, and probably the only burger in town. This kind of gives me that feeling because you're in the middle of nowhere, really, and where are you going to find a good, delicious hamburger out here? So I'm not even going to go there to say which one's better, though. I don't want to upset anybody. I think this burger's better, actually, though. Yeah, they have the same kind of bun. It's that greasy kind of bun, which is delicious, but the way they cooked it is spot on. All right, Saloon, CK Saloon, delicious. Bye-bye, General Store. Bye-bye, Church. Bye-bye, Crown King. Sounds like Amy and I might have enough energy now that we had that tasty burger to venture out to Horsethief Basin here to round things out. Little lake back here in the pine forest, I think, and campgrounds, hopefully a beautiful area. So we're gonna try it out. All right, Amy and I are leaving Crown King now, and I enjoyed that burger.
It was good.
The remarkable thing about it was the way it was cooked. It's just so rare that you get medium, like a little bit of pink. To me, that's the only way to do it right, but
True.
Almost never get that. It's almost always well done. So if you want a well-cooked burger, it tasted like fresh beef. Sometimes you can tell if something was frozen or a frozen patty, and that did not come across like that to me.
Yeah, it had a good beefy taste.
It did. It really did, actually. So thumbs up on the, not really rating it or anything like that, but I would eat there again.
Yeah.
And the ambience is what it's for. We ate burgers where prostitutes once walked. Oh, this road, man, this road.
Yep.
I imagine it wasn't this bad until it got rains and it dug all this stuff out here.
It's just as bad as I remember it yesterday.
Yeah. Really nice after you have a full belly, too.
Oh, yeah.
Gets that shaking in there. It makes the food go down faster. So, here's a good example. So this road, technically, I think is one of the ones that's rated as a 3 out of 10. Compared to the 2 out of 10 we drove to get up here. And you tell me, does 2 jump to 3? Is it that extreme? Once again, this is a rating on my off-road map software called Onyx Offroad. So it might be user-generated content as far as I know, and it's a very subjective thing. My point is, it's a little rougher going than you might think, but no problem for a Jeep or something like this. We'll get you a little bit of footage here on this road to Horsethief Basin. You can see that whole hillside over there was probably a ponderosa pine forest at some point, and a fire wiped it all out. Now there's burn scars and good times. Probably human caused, but
Tree
certainly
trunks everywhere.
really are. There's just like, almost looks like a windstorm. It's like the Tunguska thing happened out here.
Horsethief Basin.
We made it!
Yay!
We made it. There's like wreckage over there. Horsethief Basin, everybody.
Recreation boundary.
Yes. We are entering the recreation boundary. Everybody, put your seatbelts on and get ready to recreate.
Yes, we are getting ready to recreate.
All right, there's supposed to be a lake somewhere right around here, folks. Anybody see it yet? Whoever sees it first wins. I see it. We found it.
Water.
This is the boating area, so this is pretty. All right, I would say we hit the jackpot. This was worth the drive, I can tell already. This is a beautiful lake. Very beautiful. You can even see reflections in the water of the trees. A gentle breeze blowing through the ponderosa pine, the smell of ponderosa pine. This reminds me a lot of that lake at Granite Mountain that we saw when I went to the Yavapai campground at the end. Although that was prettier because I saw it in the early morning light. So here's something here saying to limit your consumption. I guess I mentioned that there's mercury, high levels of mercury in here, and it says that you can eat 2.5 ounces per week. Children eat 2 ounces per month. I think it's largemouth bass. I think I said smallmouth bass, but if you're an angler and you want to come up here and have a lake to yourself on a Sunday, I think the duck thinks we're gonna feed it. If it's coming over here, that would mean that others feed it. When I look through my viewfinder, Amy, you can really see the reflections of the trees in the water. It's very Bob Ross painting like. How you doing there, duck? I hear a fish too. Man, the fish are jumping too. I've heard a couple. Very active right now, it would seem. Right in the middle of the day though. And there is a cool breeze coming off that lake, believe me. I think the water cools things down significantly out here. Wow, Amy is really, she's already on the other side of the lake. I think she's enjoying herself. Have the place almost all to ourselves, actually. It's just the only people, they're sitting out on the dam enjoying the sun. They have the right idea. Wonder if we could circumnavigate this whole thing. Well, my dear, you have made it to the Horsethief Basin Lake.
I know.
It's a pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah.
And you had a burger at the oldest operating saloon, we should say, in Arizona.
I know, it's been a day.
Yeah. Made good time though.
Yeah. Agreed.
To get to this point, I would say has been a half day.
Yep.
And to get back will be another half day. Not really. Now they do have a boat launch on that other side where we started, so you could launch a small craft out here. I would assume it's really only would appeal to like fishermen and small boats, something like that, but not really that large of a lake. You can see that's one end, and you know, pretty much you can see the whole thing here, but a beautiful lake. Looking for an easily accessible tree to sniff, because you know I wouldn't leave a ponderosa pine forest without smelling one tree. Although I did yesterday, but I feel it's only appropriate to do it today. Looking one for orangey bark, because that seems to be the sign of a good smell. The sun is illuminating this tree here, Amy, and I'm gonna just climb this slope and I'm gonna smell this. This is the one that's calling out to me today. I don't know why, but it does have that orange look. I smell some smells already. All right, let's do our ponderosa pine sniffing test here. Carefully, that is. Oh, this one's better than the one from yesterday. Get in there a little bit better. It's hard to catch a smell. You gotta get just the right spot in here. It's kind of like yesterday's. I just don't think they're in prime smell yet. I don't know what the smelling season for ponderosa pine is, but I'll find an answer for you guys soon. Anyway, I'll come back and smell you some other time. Smell you later. One of the unique features here of Horsethief Dam is you can actually walk out onto the dam. It looks like there are some folks catching some sun rays out there, enjoying the day. And look at this. Like, you could see the lake is right to our left here. The water's running down. Imagine this is an old dam. I don't know why they created it. Was it for like farming and ranching in the area for cattle, or just to create a recreation area? Not sure. I did read that Horsethief Basin got its name from actual horse thieves that hid out in this area back in the olden times. So I don't think horse thieves though would be building something like this. Pretty sizable little dam. You can see the wall there. It's hard to see it with all the foliage there, but very pretty. And there's this side of the dam. You can see we're standing right on the edge of this old dam, overlooking this beautiful lake. Absolutely gorgeous out here. Alrighty folks, I hope you enjoyed our excursion here into the Bradshaw Mountains. Amy and I had a great Sunday. We look forward to doing a similar adventure in the future, and we'll pick you up down the road. See you next time. Bye-bye.